You had a rough day at work, nothing catastrophic. Just the accumulated weight of small frustrations, a conversation that went sideways, that familiar feeling of being unseen. On the way home, you stopped for something. You don't even remember deciding to stop. Maybe it was the coffee shop, the one with the expensive seasonal drink. Maybe it was Target, where you wandered aisles without a list and left with bags you hadn't planned. Maybe it was just Amazon, 1 click, 2-day shipping, that specific shade of dopamine that arrives before the package does. You told yourself you deserved it. You told yourself it was just this once. You told yourself it wasn't a big deal, because compared to your rent, your student loans, the life you're supposed to be building, what was $40? What was $80? What was the harm in feeling slightly better for slightly longer? Or it's bigger than that. It's the monthly rhythm. Your paycheck arrives and you feel momentarily rich. You pay the bills that demand immediate attention. You tell yourself you'll save what's left, but somehow, by day 20, you're transferring from savings back to checking. You're calculating if you can float until payday. You're avoiding the app that shows you the number. You're telling yourself, next month will be different. Next month you'll be disciplined. Next month the raise comes through and then, finally, you'll feel secure. Or it's the years. You've doubled your income since your 20s. You remember making half this much and somehow, impossibly, feeling like you had more freedom, more possibility, more space to breathe. Now you earn numbers that would have seemed like success to your younger self, and you feel more trapped than ever. The lifestyle expanded to fill every dollar. The anxiety didn't decrease with the income. It shapeshifted. It became more sophisticated, more hidden, more shameful, because you have no one to blame anymore. Not the economy, not your boss, not your starting salary, just you and your mysterious inability to get your financial life together. Here's a question that will make you uncomfortable. What if you're not spending because you're bad with money? What if you're spending because you're sad and no one taught you the difference? You've been telling yourself a lie. The lie is that you just need more income, that your problem is mathematical, a simple equation of in versus out. That when you finally hit that next milestone, 6 figures, the promotion, the side hustle taking off, then you'll feel secure enough to save. Then you'll stop this cycle. Then you'll become the person who has their financial life together. The truth is sharper. Your spending isn't a math problem. It's an emotional regulation strategy. And more income won't fix it, because more income just buys more sophisticated ways to avoid feeling what you'd rather not feel. In the next 18 minutes, you will understand exactly why your brain uses money as anesthesia, why budgeting apps fail people like you, and more importantly, how to build a relationship with spending that doesn't require you to become someone else entirely. But first, let me tell you about someone who sat exactly where you are now. Marcus was 36 when he came to see me, software engineer at a major tech company, pulling in $140,000 a year. From the outside, he was living the dream his immigrant parents had imagined. From the inside, he was terrified. He had $1,200 in savings and a credit card balance that fluctuated between $6,000 and $8,000, depending on the month. He sat in my office and said the thing that high earners always say, the sentence that reveals the whole architecture of the trap. I just need to hit 200,000. That's the number. Then I'll finally feel secure. Then I can start saving. Then I can breathe. I asked him when he'd felt secure before. He couldn't remember. He'd been chasing that number since 60,000. Every time he hit the target moved. The apartment got bigger. The car got newer. the restaurants got more expensive. The security he sought kept retreating just ahead of his income, like a horizon that promises arrival but never delivers. A 2021 University of Michigan study found something that explains Marcus perfectly. Researchers followed hundreds of households as their incomes increased and discovered that for every additional dollar earned, the average person increased their spending by 92 cents. Within 12 months, most people had fully adapted to their new income level and reported the same level of financial stress as before the raise. The money didn't reduce anxiety. It just upgraded the quality of the things they felt anxious about. This is where most people get it wrong. They think the solution is more willpower, better budgeting apps, cutting out the daily coffee, as if that $40 a month was the difference between financial peace and chaos. They don't see that their spending is solving a problem, that the problem isn't financial, it's emotional, and you can't budget your way out of an emotion. Marcus wasn't spending because he was irresponsible. He was spending because he was lonely. New city, demanding job, friends scattered across time zones. The expensive dinners were attempts at connection. The tech gadgets were attempts at excitement in a life that felt like a loop of commute and code. The clothes were attempts at feeling visible in a world where he felt increasingly invisible. Every purchase was a small bid for feeling something other than the low-grade depression he couldn't name and didn't have time to address. Here's the revelation that changes everything. You're not bad with money. You're using money exactly as your nervous system learned to use it. As a shortcut to emotional states you don't know how to reach otherwise. As a substitute for skills you were never taught. As a way to feel powerful in moments when you feel powerless. To feel connected when you feel isolated. To feel accomplished when you feel stuck. The biology is straightforward. Buying something triggers dopamine release. The anticipation, the decision, the possession. Each stage delivers a small chemical reward. But dopamine is about pursuit, not satisfaction, which means the feeling fades, often before the package even arrives. And your brain, wired for survival, remembers the shortcut. It doesn't remember that the feeling didn't last. It remembers that spending worked briefly, and that briefly was better than nothing. Common advice fails because it fights biology with shame. Budgeting apps show you what you already know, that you spent too much, and wrap it in graphs that feel like judgment. Cutting small pleasures creates a sense of deprivation that inevitably triggers rebellion. Pay yourself first assumes there's a stable self doing the paying, not a person whose emotional weather changes daily and takes their spending with it. The real mechanism is this. Your brain has learned that money is the fastest route to emotional regulation. Sad? Spend. Anxious? Spend. Bored? Spend. Celebrating? Spend. Every emotion gets routed through the same solution because it's the only solution that doesn't require you to actually feel the feeling, name the feeling, or ask for help with the feeling. Money becomes a way to have needs met without admitting you have needs. Marcus's childhood was full of unspoken rules. Don't ask for attention when parents are stressed. Don't express disappointment when promises are broken. Don't need things that cost money when money is tight. He learned to meet his own needs quietly, without burdening anyone. As an adult, with his own income, spending became the only form of self-care that didn't feel like weakness. The irony, of course, is that it was weakness, just not the kind he was avoiding. You will implement 3 specific techniques. not to restrict your spending, but to understand it, to build awareness that creates natural change, not forced deprivation that creates rebellion. The first is the 4-8-hour rule. When you feel the urge to spend, and I mean the specific urge, the one that arrives with emotional intensity, not the routine grocery shopping you will wait 48 hours, not to deny yourself, to investigate. During those 48 hours, you will ask one question repeatedly. What am I feeling right now that I don't want to feel? You will write the answer down. Sad, lonely, inadequate, overwhelmed, bored. You will not judge the feeling. You will simply name it. And you will notice, with curiosity, whether the urge to spend changes when the feeling is named. Often, it does. Not because you're disciplined, because the spending was never about the thing. It was about the feeling the thing promised to fix. The second technique is the identity audit. Once a week, you will review your spending and ask a different question. Who was I trying to be with this purchase? The competent professional with the expensive laptop, the generous friend with the dinner tab, the interesting person with a niche hobby equipment, the relaxed person with a vacation booking. You will map your spending to identity bids. Then you will ask, which of these identities do I actually want? Which am I performing for an audience that isn't watching? You will discover that much of your spending is costume rental for roles you don't enjoy playing. The third is the painful pause. At the moment of purchase, just before you click buy or hand over the card, you will pause for 10 seconds. You will breathe. You will ask, what happens after I own this? Not the moment of possession, the week after, the month after. When it's just another thing in your life, when the dopamine has faded, when you're back to the same emotional baseline with slightly less money, you will visualize this future specifically. The novelty gone, the object normalized, the feeling you sought still unfelt. This isn't to kill joy, it's to align your spending with what actually creates joy versus what only promises it. You might think this sounds good in theory, but that your situation is different, that you don't have time to pause, to investigate, to audit, that your spending is necessary, justified, earned. I want you to hear how that sounds. The same way Marcus's "I just need 200,000" sounded to me. Like a story that keeps the system in place. Like a reason to not look at what's actually happening. And if you only did this for 30 days, just the 4-8-hour rule alone, you would start to see something that will unsettle you. How much of your spending was emotional first aid? How many of your needs were actually feels? How peaceful, how strangely empty a week becomes when you're not constantly managing your internal weather through external purchases. Here's how this looks in practice. It's Thursday evening. You've had the kind of day where nothing went wrong exactly, but everything felt hard. The meeting where you were talked over. The project that suddenly expanded. The email that arrived at 6 p.m. with Monday morning deadline energy. You're on your phone, scrolling, and you see it. The jacket, the course, the weekend getaway deal. Your finger hovers over the purchase button. This time, you apply the 4-8-hour rule. You feel the resistance immediately. The part of you that says you deserve this, that you've earned this, that life is short and money is for spending. You thank that part for trying to help. You put the phone down. You get a piece of paper. You write, "What am I feeling right now that I don't want to feel?" The answer comes, surprising you with its clarity. Invisible. The meeting made you feel invisible. The project made you feel incompetent. The email made you feel powerless. You wanted the jacket, the course, the getaway, to feel visible, competent, powerful. You see the pattern. The spending was never about the thing. It was about the self the thing represented. You don't buy it, not because you're restricting, because you see the trade clearly now. Money for a temporary identity costume versus money for the actual life you want. You go for a walk instead. You feel the feeling. Invisible, incompetent, powerless. You survive it. The next morning, you still want the thing, but less. By day 3, you've forgotten to check if it's still available. But wait, there's a trap here you must avoid. The trap of becoming the person who never spends, who converts every purchase into a psychological excavation, who loses the ability to enjoy anything. This isn't the goal. The goal is conscious spending. Buying the jacket because you love the jacket, not because you hate how you feel without it. Taking the course because it genuinely serves your growth, not because you're escaping the anxiety of not knowing enough. The investigation creates choice. Choice creates freedom, not restriction for its own sake. Some of you are realizing something right now about that purchase you made last week, the one you justified, the one you deserved, the one you barely remember receiving. You're seeing the feeling underneath it for the first time. The loneliness, the boredom, the sense of falling behind, the need to feel like someone who has their life together. You're seeing how sophisticated your system is, how good you've become at meeting emotional needs with financial solutions that don't actually meet them. I want you to feel the difference between that old pattern where every difficult feeling routed automatically to spending, where your financial life was a series of emotional emergency rooms, treating symptoms without curing causes, and this new possibility where you feel the feeling first, where you have other tools for regulation, where your spending becomes an expression of values rather than a reaction to distress. It feels strange, doesn't it? Almost irresponsible to let a feeling exist without buying something to fix it. That discomfort is your nervous system recalibrating. Stay with it. You are not here because you are bad with money. You're here because you adapted brilliantly to circumstances that required you to meet your own needs quietly, to not burden others with your feelings, to find solutions that didn't require vulnerability. That adaptation kept you safe. It also kept you spending. The work now isn't to become someone new. It's to recognize that you have more options now. You're not that child anymore. You can feel things directly. You can ask for help. You can let a difficult emotion exist without trying to purchase its disappearance. The sentence you need to remember 1 year from now is this: money is a terrible therapist, but an excellent tool once you stop asking it to do therapy. Before you go, I want to ask you something specific. Think of the earliest money memory you have. Not the biggest, not the most dramatic, the earliest. What were you feeling in that moment? What did money mean in your child's mind about safety, about love, about who you were allowed to be? That memory is still running, not because you're broken, because memories that form with emotion become architecture. The work isn't to demolish it, it's to renovate it consciously with the adult you are now. If this question opens something, if you saw yourself in Marcus's story or recognized the pattern in your own spending, that's worth marking. The algorithm notices engagement, but more importantly, you notice when something matters. Hit the like button if this named a behavior you've never quite been able to explain. And subscribe, because next week we're going deeper. We're talking about why negotiating your salary feels physically impossible and the specific psychological rewiring that makes asking for more feel safe rather than dangerous. You don't want to miss it.